Thank you for inviting me today to talk about the Bloomberg Connect. I'm Sue Hughes. I'm the chair of trustees of Cruck Cottage in Thorold, which is in Dumfriesshire. And I'm going to talk about creating a digital guide for the cottage using Bloomberg Connects. Uh, just a little bit about the cottage before we start. So it's a Category A listed 18th century thatched cottage. It's the last surviving example of its type in southwest Scotland. It gets its name from the crooks here, which are the crooked beams that hold the roof. And once upon a time, this was the main dwelling in Dumfriesshire. So along our road, there would have been about 50 of these crook cottages, and now we're the only ones that's left. We're managed by Cruck Cottage Heritage, which is a SCIO. We're run completely by volunteers, so we receive no regular funding. We rely on fundraising, donations, and grants. And obviously, we've also got to market ourselves and publicise ourselves. A little bit about the background to it. So, the first image there on the left is of a group that was set up in the 1960s to try and save the cottage. It's been derelict and restored throughout its life. So the curator of Dumfries Museum, Alf Truckle, decided he would set up a trust to try and save it. At one point, he actually thought he was going to take it down and move it to the Dumfries Museum site. Thankfully, he didn't, so it's still in situ where it should be. So they did restore it, but then for some reason in the 1970s, they decided to sell it. They sold it to private individuals who lived in it. And the second picture across, there are two little boys in front of the fireplace there. There's a platform across here, which is where they slept at night. The cottage is a button ben, so it's just one room. And it always makes me laugh that here is a vacuum cleaner for their one little rug they've got in the middle of the room there. By this point, it's listed. They realise they can't do anything about it anymore. They can't extend it, etc. So they sell it on, but to a man in Cheshire who, again, doesn't know what to do with it. So it falls into disrepair again. And then he eventually decides he's going to give it to an organisation called Solway Heritage. He gives them £1,000 and they restore the cottage. So use heritage skills, things like the thatch and the carpentry. But actually, even today, most of the work is done by the volunteers. So you can see someone filling in the gaps in the stonework, lime washing, sorting out the cobbles is all done by volunteers. So today we're open April till September for a programme of events. We're open by a key holder the rest of the time. And we do research, we do family activities, we do hands-on activities. We work with groups. So that the picture there is a group of Ukrainian guests that we have in Dumfries that we work with. And we also have a really close relationship with the local community. So that's our Scarecrow Day that we're being involved in through the village. So the reason we went for a Bloomberg Connect guide was because partly it was the additional interpretation. So inside the cottage is immersive. There's very little modern intervention. We don't want labels everywhere. So it gave us the opportunity to provide that extra information. It gives people access from across the world, particularly in Australia and America. People are really interested in the cottage, and I'll say a bit more about that later on. So it gives them access to the information about the cottage as well. And also when we're closed, so people drive past, they stop, they can wander around the outside. But if they don't want to go in or they can't find the key holder at the time, there's a QR code in the window and they can find information and see when we're open next. So that's sort of why we wanted to be involved in the programme. So Bloomberg Connect is completely free. And I know you think nothing in life is free anymore, but actually everything is free, all the support and everything. The only thing you need to do is to become a Bloomberg partner. So to become a partner, you need to have a physical space. You need to be open to the public. You need to be a non-for-profit organisation, and you need to have access to content in the form of images, audio, or video. It's very easy to apply to become a partner. You just click on the link on their website. The link is there and fill in the form, and that's you starting on the journey. The process really, it takes about 13 weeks to produce the guide. There are 9 weeks of content development and then 3 weeks of copy editing, review and revision. So 13 weeks, that's the sort of, if you've got everything ready and you're doing the work and nothing crops up to stop you, because obviously it could take longer than that, but it did take us about 13 weeks to do. Throughout that time, you have a dedicated point of contact and they will help you through that process. There is a team, you can join an onboarding cohort of about 10 to 15 organisations, and they're all building the guide at the same time as you. So we were added to an online group. I think it was Slack they were using, and you could buddy up with people through that. Actually, even though I knew some of the people in the group who were doing the guide the same time as me, I didn't ever use that. So I suppose it's there if you need it, but you don't have to use it. If you work as a team, then you can give people different roles within the process, and they all have access to the draft guide. As I said at the beginning, we're all volunteers, very small team. So actually, I did everything by myself. I didn't do it as part of a team. Time commitment. So the process includes weekly meetings, and there's work to do each week. So again, these meetings are quite short as long as you've got everything ready and you're doing okay with it all, about half an hour. So I used to fit them into my lunch hour. There are online group meetings and they're repeated regularly, so you can choose a time that suits you. In the back end of the system, there's all the dates of all the meetings, so you can pick which one you want to do. I quite often picked an evening one because it suited me better. So I quite often was with people from a completely different time zone. So Americans, Australians, Brazilians, you name it. But the content was the same, so it didn't really matter. So the draft guide, after it's completed, is proofed and then edited before final sign off. So the main issue we had throughout our guide was the use of Scottish words. So obviously didn't really want to have to explain them, but if somebody's in Australia and doesn't understand what a Scottish word is, then we did have to explain some of the words as we went through. So it's good to have a second pair of eyes looking at what your content is. And then the picture here is just an example of one of the digital images that they will provide for you. So this is your guide, pretending to be in somebody's hands. You can use that on your website. You can use it when you're launching the event. So it's one of the things you get free as part of the whole process. So there is training involved. So you have access to online training, the content management system training for beginners and advanced. That's online. It's a webinar. You can ask questions in the chat, but at the end of that, you do get it as a recording. So if you've missed bits, you can go back and try and find out what you've missed and how to do things. There's marketing training and best practice, which is useful, but also it's quite good because it does tell you about things that they will give you for free as part of the marketing offer. There's audio training and best practice. They do give you a free audio recorder as part of the process, and I assumed that the training would be about how to use that recorder, but actually it was about best practice in actually taking recordings rather than practically how to use the equipment. And again, I did this with a group of Americans and they started talking about editing suites and I had no clue what they were talking about. So out of everything, I found that the least helpful. The visitor experience training and best practice is about you teaching the front of house staff how they can better engage people with the guide. I don't think that was there when I did the training. I think that's something new they've put on, but it's another offer that you've got. So the content management system, the content is represented by four templates. Now, it does take you a while to get your head around the terminology for this, but eventually you do get the hang of it. And if you go away for a while, you forget and have to come back, but it does make sense in the end. So the four templates are items, which are individual items or objects, exhibitions, which are a group of items that can be experienced in any order. So they're grouped together. So it could be a temporary exhibition or it could be a page of instructions. So you need to think of exhibitions not as we would think about it. It's not an exhibition of Rossetti paintings. It's just a group of these items that you've created. The tours, again, groups of items, but you're experiencing them in a linear order. So you can go around a tour of an exhibition. And the events, that's experiences that take place at a specific date and time. So this is just a little view of the back end, the exhibitions page. I'll show you a bit more about this afterwards. But basically, these are exhibitions I've created to go onto my homepage. So things like the opening times, the group visits will go into the Your Visit section of the homepage. So the most important thing are assets. So these are pieces of media you add to the content templates. So they only appear when they're added to a piece of content. So basically the system is fundamentally based around images with some video and some audio. So the assets are like a library that you use to build the different elements of your guide. So the assets are your audio, your video, images, but also creators. So if you've got an artist you want to talk about, or a filmmaker or a composer, you can put that as an asset as well. They're very, very keen on audio. So the last meeting I had with them was about them supporting me potentially to do more audio. So when you're creating your guide, have a think about how much audio you can actually put in. You can obviously interview a curator or something. It doesn't have to be old content. But yeah, they are very keen on you having audio on there. Oops. And this is just again the back end. So this is your images. So this is the thing you will upload first of all. So you've got there your image that you upload, you give it a name, you give it a caption, you put in alt text, and then there's a list there of the different pages that your images are part of. And the blue button in the right corner there is add image, and that's basically all you have to do is add image and upload your image and then input that information. Then this is items. So from the images, I've created items. These are smaller pieces of content which can then be added to the exhibition, or they can be put on a tour, or they can be put on the map. You can also use them with lookup numbers or QR codes so people can find more information about those items. So those items were images. The images have been created into items, and you can see they were all in an exhibition called Everyday Folklore. This is the event. It's very simple. So for this, you just upload in an image, you put in the title of the event, you put in the date and the time. And then the little blue button at the top there, again, you just add another event. And this is, again, the exhibition. So this exhibition can contain information, images, audio, or video. So basically, you need to see it as a folder to keep your items in. And at the top here is a hero image. You have to have at least one image on each exhibition. You can add other images and then they become a slider at the top of the guide. And then at the bottom of the guide, you can add items. Say if you've got things that you want to highlight in the exhibition, you can put them at the bottom of the guide here in the section title. You've got these different titles you can use. I tend to use highlights, but you can use explore, audios, items in this exhibition, now playing and works on view. You can put the lookup numbers on this so that people can look up, or a QR code. So this is the bottom section of your exhibition where you're highlighting items as you go around. And then there is a map. Now for Cruck Cottage, as I said, it's a button Ben. So it's literally a rectangle. So all I had to do was send them a picture of a rectangle with two holes for the two doors and a bit where the chimney is. And then they created a design for me, sent it back as a PDF, and I uploaded it. I've put the Borough collection on there just to show you what it's like if you've actually got a complex building. So if you've got different layers, they can create a map with the toilets on, with the shop on, how you entrance, exits, etc. So when you're thinking about this, but if you have got a complex building, you will have to give them a design for each of your floors of your building. So you may not have access to that. So it's something to think about before you start, is to actually give them the maps so that they can generate new ones that you upload into the system. The good thing about this, even though ours is just a rectangle, are these pins. So you can drop the pin on here and that will tell you more about the objects. So as I said before, we really don't want to have labels all over the place. So this, you can go around, click on a pin. So this pin here relates to here. It will come up with the title of that picture, which is wash day. And then it will, if you click on that, it will take you to the actual label, which has the picture of the wash day items with some more information on it. So it's really helpful to be able to do that. So the guide structure. So there's a home screen, which is really the index. So that's made up of different sections which can contain one or more pieces of content. You need to keep the sections to a minimum, so it is around 7. I did argue for 8, which I ended up with. But it does mean that you have to think about maybe putting different pieces of content together, so you've only got these sections. And it does make sense when you look at the guide not to have too many. So our sections are your visit, which is about access, opening times, group visits. The cottage is about the history of the cottage, but also the renovation of it. The displays, which is temporary displays that we have, or new displays. Special events, which is the things that are coming up. The recent events, which are things that have already happened. So when an event, you may take more video, audio, or photographs. You can add that to it. You can add more information, and then you can move it out and put it into a different folder so that people can still see it. And we wanted to keep that because we've only been doing these events for a couple of years, and we wanted to make sure that people could see what we were doing and raise the profile of what we were doing. We've got a section on Thorold Village because it's a historic village. It's got a castle and everything, and it provides the context for the cottage. We've got a section on John Gibson Paton. He was a missionary to the New Hebrides, which is now Vanuatu. And he lived next door to our cottage. His cottage was demolished in the 1940s. So a lot of people in America and Australia are really interested in coming to a cottage that looks like the one that he lived in. And obviously this guide gives them access to that, but also to our donations page. And then we have a support us section, which is about volunteering and donations. And then this is what it looks like in your back end. So this is your home page, and the bits I've been talking about your visits. So you've got things like the opening times, how to find us, access, group visits. These are all exhibitions that I have put in the your visit section of the home page. And you can move these around quite easily. You just click on them and you push them up or down wherever you want them. And then this is how it looks for the people who are looking at it the other end on their guide. So the little dots underneath here take you to those different pages. So your visit section, that would take you to group visits, access, etc. through these little dots here. You can just push it along. So the benefits really are accessibility. So your content can be viewed from all over the world. So I've already said about people in Australia and America, but also it has built-in accessibility features. So things like screen reader support, Zoom, font size adjustment, transcripts, subtitles, alt text are all built in. Searchability, which is really great. So if somebody's in your area and they have the Bloomberg Connect app, it will come up with all the people who are Bloomberg partners in that area. So in Dumfriesshire, there are 3 of us. If somebody's in Dumfries, we come up first because we're the nearest one to Dumfries. And it gives people the opportunity to build an itinerary in that area if they're visiting. That's why it's really good if you can try and persuade some of your colleagues from around your area to get involved, because the more people there, the more offer there is for your visitors. It provides additional interpretation. So there are QR codes and lookup numbers, and you can put things on the map. You can create tours. There's obviously the map. For us, we're just a square box, so it doesn't matter. But if you have a complicated building, then people can carry that around on their phone. It gives you publicity, so you can advertise your program, you can review recent events. It is proofed and edited by a professional, so that's really good for somebody else to look at it. You get that back and you just accept or don't accept their recommendations. You don't have to take everything they say on board if you don't agree with it, as long as you just say yes or no. It provides you reports, so it gives you data on how the guide's being used and by who and whereabouts in the world they are. You get a free audio recorder. You also get free access to Rev, which is for transcribing your audio and video, and they insist that you do have a transcription on all your audio or video. If you've got a video there and it hasn't got any words in it, you still have to put in there's no dialogue in this video. They provide digital materials, so it shows your guide how it looks in use, and they provide you a QR code to advertise the guide, so you can put that on your website. They provide you print materials, so table tents, A-frame signage, postcards, bookmarks, lookup numbers and QR codes. That's all free. So you send them a nice picture of your organisation and they will send you a batch of postcards back. It will have Bloomberg Connect on the back, but it's really nice to be able to give those out free to people. And obviously, we've used those particularly for outreach events to try and get people interested in what we do. You get ongoing support. So I still meet with somebody from Bloomberg on a regular basis, very short meetings because I don't really need anything to be done. But it's good because they then tell you about new developments because they're developing the guide all the time. And there's multi-language support. So that's either via human translation or Google Translate. So the cons, not as many cons. So the CMS system, you need to work with it for a while to understand the process of creating an asset to develop the content. It does take a minute to get your head around it, but there is someone there to help if you're struggling. Sometimes you forget a step when you're doing it, but you'll get there in the end. The content, you need to collate a lot of content up front to be able to create the guide quickly. So I would advise if you're doing it that you get your images, your audio and your video up front so that you're ready to go. Maps, you do need the floor plan for the Bloomberg team to use to design your maps. So I'm sure it might be difficult for some organizations to find floor plans, but that you will need those to be able to do the maps. And then maintenance. So anything like your website or social media, you need to keep it relevant and up to date. So for instance, moving the events from the current events to the recent events and adding more content. So it's just making sure you think about it regularly to be able to update it. And that is me. I'm the chair of Cruck Cottage. That's my email address. If anybody wants, I'm quite happy to talk to anybody about the process. If you're in the north of England, I can give you more bespoke support through my job at Museum Development North. But if you're in doubt, you just need to contact the Bloomberg team. They're really helpful. There are people in this country who can help you. And I would not hesitate I would just get in touch with them and ask them if they can help. So I think that's my presentation. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Can I just ask, can you share those slides with us?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I'd like to share them with my colleagues, really, because we are in the process, as you know, of developing Pendle Heritage Centre, and I think this would be really useful for us.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's much easier if I've got the slides to remember exactly what you said.
And I think Hannah's been recording it as well. So
Ah, great.
it'll
Well, that would
be,
be great. Yeah.
yeah. Other questions?
Do you get any information about usage, like how many people are using your app? Yeah.
Yes. So it's quite detailed information at the back end. So if you go into the CMS system and then it will tell you how many people in the UK are using it across the world, and it'll tell you, in fact, which countries have accessed it. Yeah. And then you can look across a period of time to see when they're using it as well.
Have you found that people are using it on site when they're there?
No, to be honest. You can tell how small a site we are. And because we always have a volunteer there, obviously the first point of contact is a human. The only time we've noticed people using it is if when we've got an event on and it's really busy and the guide or the volunteers are too busy to deal with things, and then people will go around on their own and use it. But most of the time they're more engaged with the person. So I think it's more about remote use. And for us also letting people know we're there. So if people have got the guide, it pops up as soon as they're in Dumfriesshire, which is great for us. It means that we've got that knowledge from people.
Hi, can I just ask a question about I mean, I work in heritage, but I'm a trustee at a local arts centre, and I've been looking at the Connects app for that to see if it's useful. And I know art centres are on it. Have you got any thoughts on that with how useful it might be there? Or any
I think yeah, I think it is useful to be able to because it's not just about objects and things. It's about your floor plan and your events that you've got, the history of the building maybe, and people who are involved in it. So you can put information about if it was an art centre about artists or actors or whatever. So yeah, I think it is useful to be able to use it for other organisations. I think it's always good to make sure it's a place that is genuinely open to the public so that people can get in rather than somewhere that's a building but you have to book access and things.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely an open, and you know, it just sounds like a great opportunity to raise the profile, as you say, to let people in the area know that it's there.
Yeah, I mean, even when we launched it, have it because we were the first one in this area to do it. We launched it with a press release about it being the first one, and it's been really good for us, for the public to understand, number one, that we're doing all these events that they didn't know we were doing, but also the fact that we're all volunteers and all of that. And then I think the raising profile, we've just received money from MGS for sorry, Museums Gallery Scotland for another project. And I think anything like this that raises the profile of what you're doing and shows that you're widening your scope helps to bring in other things like funding, for instance. So it's been really good for us.
I'd like to share the recording with my fellow trustees when it's done, if that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. Hannah's looking after the recording, but I think that's fine. Yeah.
Well, I'm not, because I'm afraid I lost all power and everything for about 10 minutes. I've only just made it back in. So, yeah,
Oh,
more than happy to share the recording, and I'll be watching it back as well. So, sorry about that.
I did wonder where you got.
You've just been running yourself, Sue. It's
holding
brilliant.
the fort. I think she's gone, but I don't know.
Independent. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Really helpful to
I think
your
because
experience.
obviously we're volunteer run, we've all got day jobs. We are a small museum, and therefore it doesn't matter too much about how much information you start off with, and you can always build on that. I think if you're a bigger organisation's temptation might be to do everything at once, but actually it's better to start small and then build up.
Was there like a maximum space allowance for like the content you would put on? Like, or do they just want more? Is that their
I think
kind
they
of
just want
ethos?
more. They've never ever mentioned that to me about how much space. No.
Okay, that's good.
It's more about making it accessible at the front end in terms of the amount of sections that you've got and things like that. But no, um, they do want more, and they definitely want more audio. And it has been good in a way because we have an 89-year-old man whose family lived in the cottage originally, so he's got all these stories to tell. So we've been recording him and we've been putting them on the Bloomberg Connects, which has been really good for us because we've now got because we were wondering how on earth we were going to record all these stories that he had, and it was such a good excuse. But the problem is we've created a monster now, and he just wants to be recorded all the time, and his stories are getting more and more gory as we go along. But yeah, so it's given us the opportunity to do that, and now we've got that information. We also had a lot of film from when the cottage was restored, and it gave us again the opportunity to be able to share the film with people.
Forgive me if you covered this during your talk. Do you
Okay.
find that most people are accessing it off-site, or are people going around very much with the
We've
guide
just had
as
that.
well?
Yeah, we've just
You just had
had
that,
that
sorry.
question. That's
I'll
fine.
watch the recording.
Yeah, it was. It's. I was saying that if it's really busy, then yes,
Mm.
people are using it because there's always a volunteer who obviously they want to engage with the volunteer rather than something digital. But if it's really busy, they will go around and use the guide. Yeah. So when we have some event days we do have a lot of people all at once. So it is good to have that extra bit. And I think once we get the new, we're having a new building as well. It'll work even better because people will be going outside and inside and hopefully more people.
And I know it's now sort of very much web-based rather than having to download a separate
Yeah.
app. Is that right? So
Yeah.
is Signal an issue, or do you have Wi-Fi, or
No, we don't have
what do
Wi-Fi.
you tend
No.
to find, or people
Yeah.
can access it, the
Yeah, it
signal's
seems to
fine.
be accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I obviously took it round
Excellent. I'm
to deal
talking
with
from
it. Yeah.
deepest, darkest Norfolk, and evidently
Yeah,
our
no,
internet is not up to it.
I know
So
what you
yeah.
mean. You can download it so that you can watch it without it being on Wi-Fi, basically. So if you knew you were going, you could download it so you could use it. So that's one way of doing it. But I think the benefit for us has been people who can't actually come or want to come and haven't been, and they're looking at it outside of visiting.
There's no catches in terms of cost. It's all fully funded.
Yeah, I know, bad. Yeah.
I'm looking at it now. I mean, we're trying to redevelop our website because it's really old and quite embarrassing, to be honest. Uh, and this just looks brilliant. You know, if we could integrate some of this into our website, point people towards this. I've got the app on the on the web page open at the moment, and it just looks really intuitive.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm glad I came.
It's unbelievable, really. That I was looking for the catch all the time. I'm because I work for Museum Development North. We've done a lot of work with Bloomberg Connect prior to, and the reason I started doing this was because I thought, well, if I can do it, then I can help other people to be able to do theirs.
Yeah,
And yeah, I was all the time looking for the catch, and there doesn't seem to be one.
it's really, really good news. Yeah, okay, that's great.
But
Yeah, good.
Ben, I'm here if you want any help.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's I'll do some I'll look into it because I think with what we're doing at the moment, with the multiple projects that we've got running, this will just integrate really, really well with those, and it's a missing piece as well. So yeah, I'm just already thinking the way that we could use it because we have got Wi-Fi in our museum, so you could use it as a guide rather than having to print guides.
Yeah,
Just scan a QR code.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. No, thank you.
I
Any
was
other questions?
I was going to ask about, I think you said there was like a page about donating on the app.
Yeah,
How does that work? Does it redirect to your own
yeah.
page to donate? Yeah. Okay.
So it takes we've been involved in people's fundraising, so it just takes them to that. But because John Payton, his families are still around, but they live in America and Australia. So I know we've had some donations from the family because they knew about the app, and then they've donated money to us because they can see what we were doing. So yeah, it's that's the way we use it anyway.
Can I ask one more question, which may also have been asked?
It's all right,
Do
don't
you
worry.
ever get visitors who want to use or want to be able to access that, but don't have a smartphone, don't have thing to do it, or most people, even if they can't access it on site, they can access it at home?
Yeah, obviously you can access it,
Yeah,
on a computer as well. But
yeah,
no, we've never had that. I mean, obviously we do have some digital exclusion issues within Dumfriesshire, but it's never been a problem. To be honest, up until the last few years, it was only ever open with a key holder. So the fact we've been doing lots of events and things is new anyway. So we're just building up our audiences now.
fantastic. Did anyone else have any further questions for Sue?
No, but just to say thank you. That was really, really useful. And we will definitely be pursuing it.
You've got some Bloomberg converts there, so
Yeah,
that's really useful. Thank you. A huge thank you, Sue, for your time, and sorry to
that's
leave you on
okay.
your own briefly. Yeah, not entirely sure what happened there. Joys of technology. Uh, Ironic for a technological themed session,
Yeah.
but yeah, there we go. But you huge thanks everyone for turning out this afternoon, and hope to see you at another Chewing the Cud soon.